So, I want you to imagine the scenario for a second. It's Monday morning. You sit down at your desk, coffee in hand, and you open up your laptop.
Right? Getting ready for the week.
Exactly. But before you even dive into your inbox, you open one of the major AI answer engines. I mean, the exact tools your clients are using every single day now to research complex business problems.
Yeah, the big ones.
Right. And you type in a query that represents like the absolute core of your firm's expertise. Something like, what are the most effective supply chain litigation strategies for European markets?
A classic high-stakes question.
Exactly. So you hit enter. The AI spins for what, maybe 3 seconds, and it generates this beautifully formatted, comprehensive, highly authoritative overview.
And this is where the panic sets in.
Yeah, because as you read the summary, your stomach just completely drops. The AI has cited your biggest competitor as the leading, definitive expert in the field.
Ouch.
Not just once either, like 3 separate times. It's pulling specific insights and data points directly from their latest campaign.
Which naturally leads you to frantically search for your own firm's perspective in that same output.
Yeah, you're like, where are we?
Right. The firm that just spent the last 6 months in a massive, painful budget redesigning its website to be totally state-of-the-art.
And you're just nowhere to be seen. You are completely invisible to the machine. And, well, it actually gets worse.
Always does.
Because by Tuesday afternoon, your own clients are sitting in pitch meetings with you, and they're casually quoting your competitors' insights back to you.
As if they're just established industry facts.
Exactly. And those clients didn't even go to your competitor's website. They didn't, download a white paper.
They didn't have to. The AI just handed them your competitor's authority on a silver platter.
Right. Bypassing your entire marketing apparatus in a fraction of a second.
I mean, it is the modern professional's absolute worst nightmare. It feels like this sudden, catastrophic loss of control over your own market reputation.
Yeah, a total loss of control.
But, when we look at the underlying mechanics of how these systems actually synthesize information, we realize it's an entirely preventable situation.
And that feeling of powerlessness is exactly why we are doing a deep dive today into the 2026 edition of Larissa Hale's Guide.
Strategic data literacy and insights generation.
That's the one. Because if you are anywhere in the professional services space, if you're a consultant, a lawyer, an accountant, a marketer.
Really anyone whose entire business model relies on being the smartest person in the room.
Yes. This material is basically your survival manual. We are looking at the massive gap between merely, having access to generative AI and actually knowing how to force it to respect, cite, and elevate your specific expertise.
And Larissa Hale fundamentally flips the script on the anxiety most professionals are feeling right now.
How so?
Well, there's this pervasive assumption that the firms winning the AI race just like access to better, more expensive proprietary enterprise models.
Oh, like they bought the premium version and we didn't.
Exactly. But technology access is no longer the differentiator. I mean, the playing field on the actual technology is remarkably flat. Almost everyone is querying the exact same foundational models.
Okay, so if we all have the same tools, what's the problem?
The true crisis in professional services isn't a lack of tools. It's a glaring, catastrophic lack of the skills required to direct those tools.
Okay, let's unpack that skills gap because I see this contradiction everywhere. We're at a point where half the professional world can suddenly generate a 50-page, perfectly formatted market analysis in 10 seconds.
Yeah, the speed is incredible.
But then somehow when you actually sit down and read these documents, they are saying absolutely nothing of value.
Nothing at all.
It's just an endless sea of polished, grammatically flawless mediocrity.
That is the paralysis of generic output right there. When you combine incredible ease of production with a total lack of strategic intent, you just get noise.
So our goal today isn't just to list the new features of AI in 2026.
No, we need to examine the psychological and mechanical reasons why some professionals are using these tools to become absolute force multipliers.
Scaling their influence.
Exactly. While their peers are just, quietly drowning in an ocean of AI-generated information overload.
Right. And to understand why that split is happening, we first have to acknowledge that the ground beneath our feet has shifted permanently.
We're definitely not in Kansas anymore.
No, we are no longer operating in the era of Google search. The days of fighting this brutal war of attrition just to rank halfway down a page of 10 blue links, that's over.
It's completely dead.
Yes.
We have fully entered the era of answer engine optimization, or AEO.
AEO. So how is this different from SEO? Because it sounds like just another acronym.
I know, right? But this is a monumental paradigm shift in how human beings consume information. Traditional SEO, search engine optimization, was inherently
Well,
transactional.
like a directory.
Exactly. The engine's only job was to provide a list of waypoints, and the user had to do all the labor. You had to click the link, visit the site, read the content, and then decide if the firm was actually credible.
But AEO does all that for you.
Yes, AEO functions completely differently. The goal of AEO is to be the primary authoritative source that an AI system actively synthesizes when a potential client asks it a highly complex, multi-layered question.
Meaning the user might never actually click through to your website at all.
They probably won't. The AI digests your expertise, reformats it, and serves it up as the definitive answer directly in the chat interface.
And Hale points out a massive roadblock here, doesn't she?
She does, because professionals are still treating AI like a traditional search engine. They're feeding it generic, superficial marketing copy and just, expecting it to cite them as thought leaders.
It's like having access to a world-class commercial kitchen with every tool imaginable, but you only know how to boil water.
That's a great way to put it. You really can't blame the oven when the meal is bland.
So if the firm is the chef, how do we actually learn to cook for an answer engine?
Well, Hale introduces a 10-question AEO content audit.
I want to look under the hood at the technical side of this audit because it sounds like we have to start communicating directly with the machines in their own language.
We do. I mean, excellent writing is just no longer enough. You have to structure your knowledge so a machine can parse the hierarchy of your ideas without having to guess.
Give me an example.
So, for instance, the audit asks if you're rigorously using clear H1, H2, and H3 headings.
Which sounds incredibly basic.
It does sound basic, but to an AI scraper, those headings are the structural scaffolding of your logic. If you just, make text bold instead of using proper HTML tags, the AI literally cannot weigh the importance of your arguments.
It just sees a wall of words.
Exactly.
She also heavily emphasizes implementing schema.org structured data on key pages. Let's pause and translate that. What is schema actually doing mechanically?
Because to a lot of professionals, that just sounds like back-end developer jargon.
Right, it sounds like something IT handles.
Think of schema.org, structured data, as a universal Dewey Decimal System for AI crawlers.
Okay.
When an AI visits your website, it reads the text, but it still has to infer context. Like, is the word Lincoln a city, a car, or a former president?
Oh, I see.
So schema is this layer of hidden code you add to the page that explicitly categorizes the information. It taps the AI on the shoulder and says, hey, this specific block of text is a bio of a legal expert, or this block of text is an original data set regarding market trends.
So it completely removes the guesswork.
Exactly. It allows the AI to confidently categorize and store your information for future retrieval.
That makes total sense. You are essentially pre-chewing the data for the answer engine.
Exactly.
But the audit also mentioned something I had never heard of before, an LLMs.txt file.
Yes, the LLMs.txt file.
What is that and why is it suddenly critical?
It's a really fascinating development in the AEO landscape. You're probably familiar with the robots.txt file, right?
Yeah, that tells traditional search engines which pages they're allowed to look at.
Right. So an LLMs.txt file is a plain text file placed at the root of your website, but it's specifically designed to be read by large language models.
So it's like a VIP entrance for AI.
That's exactly what it is. Instead of making the AI scrape your entire site and, guess your core competencies, this file provides a clean, machine-readable summary of your firm's expertise.
What goes in it?
Your key personnel, your primary service areas, and direct links to your most authoritative research. You are literally handing the AI your customized resume in the exact format it prefers to read.
Okay, so we implement schema, we build an LMS.txt file, we use perfect headings, and we explicitly credit our named experts so the AI knows real humans are involved.
They check all the technical boxes.
Right, but I have a major concern here. If answer engine optimization just comes down to these, technical tricks, and every major firm in the world hires developers to implement the exact same code,
Which they will.
aren't we just building a massive, perfectly structured echo chamber? I mean, if we all have the same AI drafting our content and the same technical hooks serving it up, why wouldn't the AI just view us all as identical, boring commodities?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's exactly why the technical hooks are only half the battle.
Okay.
Because if your underlying content is generic, giving it perfect schema markup just helps the AI realize it's generic much faster.
Oh, wow. So you're just optimizing garbage.
Exactly. To break out of the echo chamber, Hale introduces the thought leadership hierarchy.
Yeah.
This is the core mechanism that actually forces an AI to cite you over a competitor.
Let's break down this hierarchy because this feels like the dividing line between winning and losing in 2026.
It absolutely is. So she divides professional content into 3 levels. Level 1 is opinion.
Like a blog post.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a partner writing a post saying, we believe the real estate market is going to soften in Q3 due to regulatory pressures.
Okay, pretty standard.
It's an expert view, which is fine, but it is entirely subjective. Millions of people can ask an AI to generate a similar opinion.
Right.
So an AI answer engine places very little weight on level 1 content because it cannot be objectively verified.
It's just noise. Anyone can say the market is changing.
Exactly. Then you move up to level 2, which is analysis. This is a significant step up.
What does that look like?
This happens when your firm takes a dense external piece of information, say a 500-page new federal regulation, and your experts write a breakdown of what it means for your specific clients.
Okay, so synthesizing existing data.
Yes. AI engines respect level 2 content because it demonstrates synthesis, but it still relies on someone else's foundational data.
Which brings us to level 3.
Level 3 is the holy grail of answer engine optimization. It's original data.
Original data.
This is your firm's proprietary surveys, your internal client benchmarking studies, or, aggregated, anonymized case study metrics that literally exist nowhere else in the world.
Why does the AI care so deeply about level 3 over everything else? I mean, what's the mechanical reason?
It comes down to how large language models are fundamentally programmed to avoid hallucinations.
They want facts.
They are desperate for hard, verifiable facts to anchor their summaries. If an AI is generating a response about market conditions, it does not want to cite 50 different opinions. It wants to cite the underlying math.
Okay, I see.
And if your firm is the sole originator of that math, the AI has no choice but to cite you. You own the fact.
So to put that into a practical scenario, let's say my law firm publishes a beautifully written level 1 opinion piece stating, construction disputes are rising due to supply chain issues.
The AI might read it, but it just blends it into the aggregate noise.
Right. However, if my firm surveys 500 regional contractors and publishes a level 3 report stating, our proprietary data shows a 42% spike in concrete supply litigation over the last 6 months, the AI suddenly treats me as the source of truth.
Let's follow that exact scenario down the client journey because this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, let's do it.
Imagine a general counsel for a massive development firm is facing a supply chain crisis. They open their AI assistant and ask, which law firms have the deepest expertise in regional construction supply disputes?
In the old SEO model, they would get a list of 10 law firm homepages.
Yep. And they'd have to click each one, read the About Us pages, and wade through paragraphs of generic marketing fluff about how much the firm values excellence and integrity.
Which puts all the investigative burden on the client. It's exhausting.
But in the AEO era, the AI does the investigation instantly. It synthesizes a direct answer.
What does it say?
It replies, based on recent proprietary benchmarking data regarding concrete supply litigation, Firm X is a verified leader in this space, having recently identified a 42% market spike.
That's incredible.
The AI serves up Firm X not because they had the cleverest brand slogan, but because they provided level 3 original data that proved their expertise in a structured, machine-readable format.
So, if level 3 content and technical AEO are the absolute keys to the kingdom, it exposes a massive contradiction in our industry.
How so?
Because when I look around at highly capable, deeply experienced professional services firms, almost none of them are doing this. If this is the survival manual, why is execution so incredibly rare?
Because the barriers to entry aren't technological anymore. They are deeply psychological and structural.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Hale spends a significant portion of the guide breaking down the 3 fatal mistakes firms make when confronting AI. And the first one is simply avoidance.
Avoidance, like the ostrich approach, just sticking their heads in the sand.
Exactly. But we have to ask, what is driving it? Are they just lazy?
Yeah, why do they do it?
It is rarely laziness.
Yeah.
It is usually fear. Senior professionals spend 20 or 30 years building a highly nuanced, bespoke reputation.
Right.
They look at AI, they see it producing bland, robotic text, and they become terrified that integrating these tools will somehow commoditize their hard-earned expertise.
So they just ban it.
They ban it, they ignore it, and they mandate that everything must be done the old-fashioned way.
Which ironically guarantees the exact outcome they are afraid of, because by opting out, they ensure their firm becomes completely invisible to the answer engines their clients are using.
Exactly. They protect their bespoke process, but lose their market visibility entirely.
So what's the second mistake?
The second fatal mistake is almost the polar opposite of avoidance. Hale calls it using without working.
Using without working.
Yeah, this is the professional who decides to finally try AI. They log in, type a vague one-sentence prompt like, write a thought leadership article about tax law.
Oh, boy.
And the machine, of course, spits out 5 paragraphs of the most generic, soulless corporate speak imaginable.
And their immediate reaction is, see, I knew this technology was overhyped garbage. It doesn't understand our clients at all.
Exactly. They expect the AI to do the deep thinking for them. They fail to realize that the AI is a prediction engine, not an oracle.
Right, it's just guessing the next word.
If you give it average, low-context inputs, it is mathematically guaranteed to give you average, low-context outputs.
So it requires your unique voice.
It requires your unique voice, your specific client parameters, and your level 3 data to produce anything worthwhile. When it doesn't read their mind, they quit.
And then there is the third mistake, which Hale argues is actually the most dangerous one, right? Because it creates the illusion of progress.
Yes, she calls it ad hoc tinkering.
Ad hoc tinkering, it sounds harmless.
It sounds harmless, but it's the slow death of strategy. This is when a team plays around with AI on a random Tuesday afternoon. They generate a cool image for a slide deck, or they use it to quickly summarize a long email thread.
It feels highly productive in the moment.
It does, but it is completely disconnected from a defined content plan. There is no overarching goal to capture answer engine visibility. It is treating a revolutionary technology like a novelty desk toy.
What fascinates me is that Hale traces all three of these mistakes, avoidance, using without working, and tinkering back to a single foundational mental block.
Yeah, it isn't a fear of technology itself.
No, it's a fundamental lack of data literacy, which usually masks itself behind the most common excuse in the corporate world. I'm not a numbers person.
Ugh, that phrase is a virus in professional services.
Hale really comes out swinging against it, doesn't she?
She does. She argues forcefully that I'm not a numbers person is not a personality trait, and it is certainly not a cute quirk. It is a conscious, deliberate decision to avoid accountability for poor results.
I see the logic, but isn't it fair to say that some incredibly talented lawyers or creative directors genuinely just don't have brains wired for advanced statistics?
But she isn't demanding they learn advanced statistics. That's the point. She's pointing out how the phrase is used as a shield.
How so?
Think about it mechanically. If your firm launches a massive new marketing campaign and the data shows low open rates, a stagnant pipeline, and 0 conversions, the numbers themselves are not the problem. The numbers are simply the messenger telling you that the market does not care about your message. Facing that reality requires you to change your behavior, which is uncomfortable.
So it's just easier to blame the math.
Exactly. It's much easier to say, well, I'm not a numbers person, I focus on the relationships, than to admit your strategy failed.
She uses an analogy in the guide that is so sharp it almost hurts. She asks the reader to imagine a senior colleague walking into a meeting, being handed a critical legal contract and casually waving it away, saying, you know, I'm just not a reading person. I prefer to learn through vibes.
You would laugh them out of the room, or you'd fire them on the spot.
Right. You would never accept illiteracy as an excuse to opt out of corporate communication. So why on earth do we allow highly paid professionals to use I'm not a numbers person as a valid excuse to opt out of understanding the basic data that dictates whether the business survives?
We shouldn't. And in the AEO era, we simply can't afford to. Data literacy is the absolute prerequisite for AI success.
Because if you can't read the data, you can't make the content.
If you cannot read your own internal data, you cannot generate the level 3 original insights that the AI needs to cite you. It's that simple.
So what does baseline data literacy actually look like, practically speaking? If I don't need a math degree, what do I actually need?
You need curiosity and you need a system.
Okay.
You need a functioning customer relationship management tool, or CRM. You need basic access to web analytics, like Google Analytics 4. And most importantly, you need the discipline to look at a metric, whether it's website traffic or email engagement or a drop-off in a sales funnel, and ask one simple driving question.
Which is?
What should we do differently tomorrow? Because we know this fact today. Data literacy is just the ability to connect a number to an action.
That makes it so much more approachable. Now, to overcome this widespread paralysis, Hale suggests we have to look backward. She draws a really compelling historical parallel, pointing out that as a business culture, we have actually faced this exact type of overwhelming technological shift before.
We absolutely have. If you think back to the 2013 and 2014 era, the entire business world was obsessed with big data.
Right. Everyone was talking about big data.
Storage became incredibly cheap, and suddenly companies were tracking every single click, every transaction, every movement.
The idea was that whoever had the most data would automatically win the market.
But that isn't what happened. Companies generated oceans of data, and they quickly realized that volume without interpretation is totally worthless. It just created noise.
So who actually won?
The companies that won weren't the ones with the biggest server farms. They are the ones who hired data analysts capable of extracting a human narrative from the numbers. The demand for sense-making skyrocketed.
And Hale argues we are experiencing the exact same illusion of productivity with AI today, right?
Yes. AI has introduced a dangerously easy mode of production.
I mean, I can log in right now, ask an AI for a comprehensive 30-point strategic action plan for my department, and it will generate it in like 4 seconds.
And it looks highly professional.
But if my team is already exhausted and drowning in daily tasks, handing them an AI-generated list of 30 new initiatives isn't productivity. It is paralysis dressed up as progress.
Exactly. We are producing far more output than we have the human frameworks to interpret.
Which is why the solution to the AI crisis isn't actually a new piece of technology. Hale points to the one foundational skill that has survived and outlasted every single technological shift in human history.
Storytelling.
Storytelling. It's crazy that in a highly technical manual about answer engine optimization, the ultimate weapon is storytelling.
But think about the mechanism of human attention. A dry corporate data dump, no matter how accurate, attracts a dry corporate audience. And usually it just puts them to sleep.
Yeah, no one wants to read a raw spreadsheet.
An authoritative, human-centric story about what the data means attracts clients and drives decisions. Even Gartner has predicted that data storytelling will soon replace traditional dashboards as the primary way organizations consume analytics.
So how do we build those stories systematically? Hale doesn't just leave it at theory. She introduces a very specific structure called the CLEAR framework for presenting insights.
The CLEAR framework is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's designed to prevent professionals from just handing their clients a spreadsheet. It forces you to construct a narrative.
Break it down for us.
C stands for contextual. Your insight cannot exist in a vacuum. It has to be grounded in what is actually happening in the broader market or inside your firm's current strategy.
Okay, let me guess the rest. L is linked to a decision.
Right.
Because if the data you are presenting doesn't point toward a specific choice the client needs to make, it's just trivia.
Exactly. Then E is evidenced. The story has to be supported by hard numbers, not just a partner's gut feeling.
And A.
A is audience matched. This is where many technical experts fail completely.
How so?
You do not talk to a chief financial officer about website page views and bounce rates. They don't care. You translate those metrics into revenue impact and pipeline velocity. You match the data to the language the audience actually cares about.
That is so crucial. And finally, R is recommendation ready.
Every single data story has to end with a definitive, therefore we should statement. No exceptions.
Okay, so the CLEAR framework sets the boundaries of the story, but Hale provides a second, incredibly practical framework for the actual delivery of the narrative, like how you structure the conversation in the room.
Yes. So what now, what framework?
I want to role play this because I think seeing the mechanism in action is the only way to really understand it.
Let's do it.
Let's say I am an overwhelmed marketing director. I used my AI tools to process my web analytics for the month, and it spit out a dense 40-page report on website traffic.
Sounds typical.
I have a critical meeting with the senior partners in 10 minutes to justify my budget. How do I actually use the what so what now what framework? Because if I just walk in and hand them a 40-page printout, it's like a doctor handing a patient a raw sheet of blood test numbers without actually telling them if they are dying or totally healthy.
That is the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The data dump is the raw blood test.
Mm-hmm.
The data story is the doctor's diagnosis and the prescription.
Okay.
Let's look at the before state. What most professionals do when they haven't learned storytelling. They walk into that partner meeting, put a slide on the screen, and say something like, okay, looking at the dashboard, website sessions are at 12,400 for the month, which is up 8% year over year. Our overall bounce rate is 71%. The top viewed page is the new ESG Insights Hub. and we had 23 total goal completions.
And as the partner listening to that, my internal monologue is screaming, okay, is 71% good? Is 23 completions enough to pay our salaries? So what?
And then you just go back to checking your emails under the table, right?
Exactly. I've checked out.
Precisely. You gave them volume without interpretation. Now, let's look at the after state. You take that exact same data, but you run it through the what, so what, now what structure.
Okay, show me.
First, the what. You state the foundational fact with absolute precision. Our new environmental, social, and governance content drove 4,800 sessions last month. That represents 39% of all our website traffic, despite ESG only making up 12% of our total published content.
Okay, you have my attention. The numbers are specific and contextualized. What next?
Then you deliver the so what. Why does this matter to the business? This tells us that market demand for ESG guidance is currently surging among our audience. However, out of our 23 total conversions this month, only 6 came from that specific section. We are generating massive top-of-funnel awareness, but we have absolutely no mechanism in place to capture that intent. We are leaving highly qualified leads and significant money on the table.
Oh, wow. That is the diagnosis. I am sick and I am losing money. How do we fix it?
Which brings you to the now what. One specific time-bound recommendation. Therefore, I recommend we instantly pause our generic newsletter production and reallocate those resources to create a gated, high-value ESG briefing document. We add it as a download to that hub by the end of April, and we measure the conversion uplift over a 60-day period.
I mean, that entire delivery takes maybe 60 seconds to speak out loud.
Tops.
It answers what happened, why it matters to the bottom line, and exactly what action needs to be taken next. It is literally impossible to ignore because you transition from being a passive reporter of past events into an active driver of future strategy.
That is the power of the framework.
E.
But Hale is very quick to issue a warning here.
What's the warning?
A brilliantly structured story that is based on fundamentally flawed facts is just a fiction novel.
Right, rubbish in, rubbish out.
Exactly. We have the storytelling framework, but we have to understand the mechanics of cleaning our data before we can tell stories about it.
Let's get our hands dirty with the mechanics, because this is where the grand strategy hits reality. Hale says the crucial step 1 is auditing and cleaning your CRM data. What does that actually entail for a firm?
It requires rigorous digital hygiene, which is the unglamorous work that everyone hates doing, but it is the foundation of AEO.
Like what?
It means asking hard questions about your database, like does your entire firm operate on a single shared definition of what constitutes a lead versus a contact versus an active client?
Probably not.
Are you running regular deduplication reports? Or do you have 5 different records for the same CEO because 5 different partners met her at different events?
Oh, that happens all the time. She also stresses the importance of UTM parameters. Let's pause and unpack the mechanism there. What is a UTM parameter doing?
Think of a UTM parameter as a digital luggage tag attached to a specific link.
Luggage tag, okay.
If you post a link to your new research report on LinkedIn, and you also send that same link out in an email newsletter, how do you know which platform actually drove the client to download it?
Without the tag, you're just guessing.
Right. A UTM parameter is a short string of text added to the end of the URL. When a user clicks the email link, the luggage tag tells your analytics software, hey, this specific visitor arrived via the Q3 newsletter. It allows you to trace the exact journey of a client rather than just guessing where your traffic came from.
That is vital context. Step 2 in her mechanics is looking at your Google Analytics 4 or GA4 for content performance. And she makes a really counterintuitive point here. She tells professionals to completely ignore raw page views.
Yes, raw page views are a vanity metric left over from the 2010s.
Why are they bad?
Because in B2B professional services, 1,000 accidental clicks from bots or people immediately hitting the back button mean absolutely nothing. They don't generate revenue.
So what should we look at?
GA4 introduced a metric called engaged sessions. This measures users who stayed on your page for at least 10 seconds, viewed multiple pages, or triggered a specific conversion event.
Which is way more valuable.
Infinitely more. 10 people who stayed and actively read your entire legal analysis are worth way more than 10,000 accidental clicks.
Once we have that clean CRM data and we are tracking genuine engagement, step 3 is presenting it to leadership. We talked about the what, so what, now what framework. But Hale enforces a physical constraint on presentations called the 3-slide rule.
It is a brilliant forcing function for brevity.
How does it work?
If you are presenting data to senior partners, you are allowed exactly 3 slides. Slide 1 is this situation. You present one clean chart, one clear headline, and a maximum of 2 sentences of context.
Keeping it tight.
Slide 2 is the insight. This is the so what, explaining what the data reveals that the firm did not know yesterday. And slide 3 is the recommendation. One specific action assigned to one specific owner with one hard deadline.
I love that. If you need 15 slides with crazy transitions to explain your point, you aren't delivering an insight. You are just doing a data dump and hoping the partners figure it out for you. Now, step 4 in the data mechanics is where we enter slightly controversial territory: predictive lead scoring.
Lead scoring is where data literacy starts acting like a crystal ball. It is a systematic way of identifying which potential clients are actually warming up before they ever explicitly ask for a pitch.
How do you do that?
You do this by awarding points based on 2 categories: firmographic fit and behavioral fit.
Break down the mechanism of how those points are awarded.
Firmographic fit is about who they are. For example, if your ideal client is a mid-market manufacturing company, your CRM automatically assigns, say, plus 10 points to any prospect that matches that industry and revenue size.
Okay, that makes sense.
Behavioral fit is about what they do. If that prospect attends your firm's webinar, they get plus 15 points. If they download a gated level 3 research report, they get plus 20 points.
And crucially, you deduct points for negative signals, right?
Yes. If they haven't opened an email in 6 months, it's negative 10 points. If they registered using a personal Gmail address instead of a corporate domain, maybe that's negative 5 points.
And there is a threshold.
Exactly. You set a threshold, say 50 points. The moment a prospect's cumulative score hits 50, the system flags them as a sales qualified lead. At that exact moment, the automation stops, and a human partner takes over to initiate a personal conversation.
Let me push back on this heavily because I hear this objection from senior consultants all the time. Doesn't assigning arbitrary numerical points to human behaviors reduce incredibly complex, nuanced client relationships into a cheap video game high score?
It sounds like it, sure.
I mean, professional services are built on trust, empathy, and bespoke understanding. Are we losing our humanity by gamifying the relationship?
It is a very common fear, but the framework requires us to flip that perspective entirely. Lead scoring does not replace the human relationship. It protects it.
Protects it. How?
It tells you exactly where to invest your limited, highly valuable human energy.
So the data is a compass, not a substitute for the conversation.
Exactly. Think about how firms operate without data. They act on gut feeling. And in business development, gut feeling is very often just unconscious bias.
Oh, that's a good point.
It means a partner calls the prospect they had a beer with 3 years ago because it feels comfortable, rather than calling the quiet prospect who has spent the last 3 weeks intensely reading the firm's pricing pages.
Wow. Yeah.
Lead scoring prevents you from wasting your bespoke human touch on freezing cold accounts. It allows you to lavish your empathy and expertise on the accounts that the data proves are actually hungry for it.
And Hale makes it clear that this level of sophistication isn't just for global mega firms with million-dollar tech budgets.
No, not at all.
She outlines starter stacks to prove the mechanics scale. A small firm of under 50 people can execute sophisticated lead scoring using the free versions of HubSpot and GA4.
Mid-sized firms might graduate to Salesforce and Power BI.
Right, and massive global firms will use enterprise tools like Demandbase or Sixsense. The software changes, but the underlying principle of scoring engagement remains identical.
So, to synthesize where we are, we have cleaned our database, we have identified exactly who we are targeting through lead scoring, and we know how to structure our insights into compelling stories.
So how do we actually talk to the artificial intelligence to scale this entire process? This is where we move from the theory of data literacy into the raw execution of prompt engineering.
And this is where the guide gets incredibly practical, because Hale provides the exact, specific prompt templates that professionals should be using.
And she stresses a fundamental rule: vague requests get vague, hallucinated outputs.
Absolutely. The mechanism that dictates the quality of an AI's response is something called role framing.
Let's explain role framing.
Role framing is critical because of how large language models operate at a structural level. An LLM is essentially a vast, multi-dimensional map of human language.
Okay.
When you type a generic prompt, the AI pulls from the absolute center of that map the most average common words associated with your topic. That is why the output sounds generic.
So what does role framing do?
When you role frame, you are commanding the AI to artificially restrict its focus to a very specific expert corner of its neural network.
Let's look deeply at her first template, prompt 1, extracting insights. The prompt does not start with, analyze this spreadsheet.
No, it starts with, You are a senior marketing analyst for a B2B professional services firm.
By establishing that role, you have completely changed the vocabulary and the analytical rigor that AI will apply.
You are setting the persona. Then the prompt continues. I will provide you with a dataset of our Q3 campaign performance. Identify the 3 most significant insights hidden in the data. Explain what each insight means for our business development strategy and recommend one specific, actionable step for each.
But the most important line in that entire prompt is the final instruction, she adds. Do not describe the numbers to me. Interpret them.
It's so powerful.
You are explicitly commanding the machine to skip the what and immediately generate the so what.
That constraint forces the AI to act like an analyst rather than a calculator.
Now let's dissect prompt 2, which is her template for drafting a thought leadership brief.
Oh, this one is a masterclass in establishing guardrails. It really is. It starts by defining the audience. You are writing for chief financial officers of mid-market manufacturing businesses. Then it gives the topic.
But instead of just saying, write an article, it sets strict structural parameters.
Exactly. You must lead with the primary business problem, not the regulatory history. You must include at least 2 specific data points from the provided text. And you must end the piece with 3 challenging questions this CFO should ask their current advisors.
It forces the AI to structure the content exactly how a busy, skeptical executive actually wants to consume it. But my absolute favorite part of this template, and I think this is a brilliant safety valve for any firm, is the final non-negotiable instruction.
Oh, the verification rule.
Yes, you must flag any factual claims, statistics, or legal precedents that require human verification before publication.
That single sentence is worth the price of the entire guide.
It really is, because using a bad, open-ended prompt is like jumping into the back of a taxi, slamming the door, and just yelling, "Drive!" to the driver.
Sure, you are moving incredibly fast, but you are almost certainly going to end up in a ditch or in the wrong city.
Exactly. You have to give the driver the exact destination, your preferred route, and explicitly tell them which neighborhoods to avoid.
Understanding the psychology of prompt engineering is half the battle. Hale suggests a mental model that completely changed how I view these tools. She says you should treat the AI as a well-read, highly enthusiastic, but occasionally forgetful junior colleague.
That reframes the entire relationship.
It does. Think about how you manage a junior colleague. You would never hand a critical, complex assignment to a first-year associate with a one-sentence instruction.
Never.
And more importantly, you would never take their very first draft and instantly publish it to your most important client without reading it.
You'd be fired.
Right. You give them a detailed brief, you expect them to do the heavy lifting of the initial draft, and then you apply your senior judgment to refine it.
I want to touch on prompt 4 as well, because this ties the AI execution perfectly back to the GA4 web analytics we discussed earlier. This prompt is designed to build a 90-day editorial calendar based on a specific data gap.
Walk through the mechanics of how that prompt functions.
You take the topics that GA4 tells you are currently performing well, and you paste them into the AI. You instruct the AI to map out 8 pieces of content per month.
Good.
But you force it to align those pieces to specific stages of the buyer journey. Some for top-of-funnel awareness, some for mid-funnel consideration, and some for bottom-funnel decision-making.
So strategic.
And the genius part is, you explicitly command the AI to suggest one original data research angle per month.
There's the level 3 content strategy again.
Exactly. You are literally using the AI to plan out how your firm will generate the original foundational data that the AI itself will eventually be forced to cite. It creates this brilliant self-sustaining loop of authority.
However, this forgetful junior colleague metaphor leads us perfectly, and perhaps a bit ominously, into the dark side of this technological revolution.
Yeah, we have to talk about the dark side.
Because we have to ask, what happens when a firm allows that highly enthusiastic, forgetful junior colleague to publish a report without any senior supervision?
It is absolute nightmare fuel. We have to talk about ethical governance and the very real threat of reputational ruin. Because when things go wrong with AI and professional services, they go catastrophically wrong.
Catastrophically.
Hale highlights the 2025 Deloitte Australia disaster, which is destined to be a cautionary case study taught in business schools for decades.
It truly is the ultimate warning. Let's look at the facts of what actually happened. Deloitte was forced to agree to a massive partial refund on a government report that cost AU $440,000.
Why? What did they do?
Because the report was absolutely riddled with AI hallucinations. It contained fabricated citations to academic papers that did not exist.
Oh, man.
And most shockingly, it included completely made-up quotes attributed to a federal court judgment.
Made up federal court quotes. In an official government report prepared by one of the largest consulting firms on the planet.
Yep.
And to me, the most damning detail of this entire fiasco is how it was discovered. It wasn't caught by a Deloitte partner. It wasn't caught by an internal quality assurance review.
How was it caught?
A completely unaffiliated academic read the public report, tried to look up the cited papers, and realized they were pure fiction. The partner responsible for the report left the firm, and the government immediately launched an intensive review into their wider portfolio of work.
Which brings up a critical point that Hale makes definitively.
Hmm.
The Deloitte disaster was not a technology failure.
Wait, really? It wasn't the AI's fault?
No. We know that large language models hallucinate. It is a documented feature of how they predict text. The AI functioned exactly how we expect it to function when unchecked.
Oh, I see.
The disaster was a catastrophic failure of process and human governance.
So, if I am managing a firm, how do I prevent this? Because the instinct for a lot of risk-averse partners is to just write a passive-aggressive corporate memo banning the use of AI entirely.
A prohibition memo is the most dangerous thing you can do.
Why?
If you ban AI on the corporate network, your employees are not going to stop using it. It is too powerful a shortcut. They will simply pull out their personal phones, disconnect from the Wi-Fi, and feed highly confidential client data into public AI models under their desks.
So you haven't eliminated the risk.
You have just driven it into the shadows where you can't monitor it.
And the regulatory environment is rapidly closing in on this shadow usage. Hale points to the EU AI Act, which was adopted in 2024. The penalties for non-compliance are staggering fines of up to 7% of a company's global turnover.
7% of global turnover is an extinction-level fine for many professional services firms.
It's like giving your staff a powerful spell checker that confidently but incorrectly translates critical legal documents into the wrong language. It looks highly professional, it operates incredibly fast, but if the human relying on it isn't fluent enough to catch the errors, it destroys the entire meaning of the contract. You have to train them on how the tool fails.
To install those safety protocols, Hale provides a very clear, highly actionable AI governance quick start checklist. It is designed to be implemented immediately.
What's step one?
Step one is an inventory. You cannot govern what you cannot see. You must list every single AI tool currently operating inside your firm.
Even the hidden ones.
Especially the hidden ones, the AI features quietly rolled out inside Microsoft 365 or built into your Salesforce dashboard.
Step two is risk classification, because not all AI usage carries the same danger.
Right.
If an associate uses AI to summarize a public news article for an internal email, that is low risk. But if a partner uses AI to draft a strategic recommendation that will directly influence a client's financial decision, that is classified as high risk and requires totally different protocols.
Step three is transparency. Do your clients actually know when AI is being used on their accounts? The EU AI Act leans heavily on this.
And step four.
Step four is data protection, which cannot be overstated. You absolutely cannot paste confidential client data, financial records, or proprietary IP into public AI tools where that data might be used to train future models.
You have to secure enterprise licenses.
Yes, you must secure enterprise-tier licenses that include strict data ring-fencing agreements.
And the final step on the checklist, which would have prevented the Deloitte disaster entirely, human oversight.
The most important step.
You must establish a clear chain of command. Every single piece of AI-assisted content that touches a client must have a named human professional legally responsible for verifying its accuracy.
Accountability cannot be outsourced to an algorithm, which brings us to a fascinating, almost philosophical inflection point in Larissa Hale's guide.
Where does it leave us?
We are looking at a landscape filled with massive risks of hallucination on one side and the constant crushing threat of generic content commoditization on the other.
So the ultimate question becomes, in a world dominated by AEO, what is actually left for the human professional? I found this section of the text incredibly validating, because despite all the technological mechanics we've discussed, AI has hard limitations.
It does.
An AI model cannot sit in a boardroom during a tense pitch and accurately read the shifting temperature of the room. It cannot exercise nuanced ethical judgment in a gray area of the law.
Nope.
And while predictive lead scoring can mathematically tell you that a client is demonstrating buying signals, An AI cannot look a client in the eye and decide when the human relationship is built on enough trust to have a direct, uncomfortable conversation about their shrinking budget.
Empathy, narrative judgment, and relationship timing are the ultimate human advantages. To maximize these advantages, Hale introduces her final framework, the 3 Cs for consistent client wins.
The 3 Cs: consistency, continuity, and certainty. Let's define them.
Consistency means establishing a cadence. It means deliberately using these data tools and prompt frameworks every single week, building a process rather than just playing with them frantically when you have a big pitch due tomorrow.
And continuity.
Continuity means resilience. When a prompt fails, or the AI hallucinates, or the GA4 dashboard breaks, you do not abandon the technology. You refine the prompt, fix the data pipeline, and try again.
And certainty is the ultimate output. By practicing consistency and continuity, you build a repeatable, measurable method for generating insights that you and your partners can completely trust.
But there is a glaring paradox here that we need to acknowledge.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Go for it.
We have spent this entire deep dive learning how to perfectly format H2 headings, audit CRM databases, optimize for answer engines, engineer complex prompts, and govern artificial intelligence, only to conclude that human empathy and personal relationships are the actual competitive advantages.
It is a paradox, but it is the unifying thesis of the entire 2026 guide. The professionals who will dominate their industries do not view AI as a replacement for their humanity. They view it as a highly capable assistant that scales their humanity.
The data analytics surface the hidden opportunity.
And the human relationship management actually closes the deal. The 3 Cs ensure that AI usage becomes a compounding, invisible habit that frees you up to do the deep, empathetic human work, rather than a fleeting technological experiment that distracts you from your clients.
And as we look at the technological trends accelerating into 2026, building that habit becomes a matter of absolute survival. We are no longer just dealing with chatbots that write text. We are dealing with agentic AI.
Let's explain the mechanism of agentic AI, because it changes the game again.
How is it different?
Current AI is reactive. You ask a question, it gives an answer. Agentic AI is proactive. You give it a high-level goal, like research these 5 competitors and build a presentation, and the AI autonomously breaks that goal down, executes the multi-step research, formats the data, and drafts the slides without further prompting.
We are also seeing the explosion of multimodal content, where AI systems can simultaneously analyze a 100-page text PDF, a recorded video interview, and an audio podcast, synthesizing all of them into a single insight.
In this environment, basic data literacy is no longer a niche skill for the analytics department. It is the absolute baseline competency required to simply participate in the economy.
Which is why Hale does not allow the reader to just absorb these theories and do nothing. She concludes the guide with a strict, prescriptive 30-day action plan to force implementation.
Let's break down exactly what those 30 days look like.
Okay, week 1 is entirely focused on the data foundation. You do not touch an AI tool.
That's right.
You run a comprehensive audit on your CRM. You identify and fix your single biggest data quality issue. Maybe it's standardizing job titles or fixing duplicate records. And you ensure your GA4 is properly tracking engage sessions, not just vanity page views.
That week is painful, but completely necessary. Week 2 shifts to the first insight.
What do you do?
You pull your clean 90-day performance data. You apply the clear framework to find the narrative. You structure that narrative using the what, so, what, now, what method. And you present that single data story to a key stakeholder using the strict 3-slide rule.
Week 3 is when you finally introduce the AI tools. You take the templates from the guide, specifically the insight extraction prompt and the thought leadership prompt.
You run them using your own firm's data.
Exactly. You document what works, you adjust the role framing, and crucially, you verify that your usage complies with your firm's data protection policies.
In week 4 is AEO and governance. You run the 10-question answer engine optimization audit on your firm's most important webpage.
Checking for schema and headings?
Right. You complete the governance checklist to assign human oversight. And finally, you set a strategic 90-day goal for publishing your first piece of Level 3 original data.
What I appreciate about this plan is that it is not a grand multi-million-dollar digital transformation program that requires a team of consultants.
It's accessible.
It's a series of highly practical, compounding habits that any professional can execute.
So if we synthesize our entire journey today, we began by recognizing the monumental, permanent shift from traditional SEO to answer engine optimization.
We identified the 3 fatal mistakes of avoidance, giving up too early, and ad hoc tinkering.
We dismantled the dangerous "I'm not a numbers person" excuse.
We explored how to build a data narrative using the clear and what frameworks.
We looked under the hood at the mechanics of clean CRM data, GA4 engaged sessions, and predictive lead scoring.
We learned how to scale that production using highly constrained, role-framed prompts.
And we addressed the absolute necessity of strict human governance to prevent catastrophic reputational ruin.
All of this effort, all of these technical frameworks serve one ultimate purpose: maintaining your human touch. You use the machine to process the overwhelming volume of data so you can preserve your energy and empathy for the human relationships that actually drive the business forward.
Absolutely.
If there is one piece of advice from Larissa Hale's guide that I want you to internalize right now, it is simply this: it is not too late.
The algorithms are not static.
Right. They update themselves constantly, scraping the web for new, verifiable information. Every single piece of highly structured, authoritative, level 3 original data you publish starting today acts as a permanent deposit into a digital account.
And that account pays out dividends and visibility and authority with every subsequent algorithm update.
The key is to start now. Build the consistency. The answer engines will inevitably catch up to you.
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over as you begin this 30-day process.
Let's hear it.
If the fundamental reality of answer engine optimization is that AI systems are actively scouring the internet to read, synthesize, and summarize your level 3 original data, what happens in a year or two when the volume of AI-generated content completely overwhelms human content?
Oh, wow.
What happens when AI systems start primarily scraping and citing other AI systems' summaries of your original data?
A completely closed loop. An AI citing an AI, citing an AI.
Precisely. In a digital ecosystem where machines are endlessly summarizing other machines, the only possible way to maintain your firm's authority, your visibility, and your leverage will be to remain the relentless, verified human source of the foundational data.
The machine will always eventually need new fuel.
To prevent total homogenization, yes. So are you building the data foundation required to be that source today?
That is a brilliant, challenging, and honestly somewhat terrifying thought to end on. Because if you do not want to be the professional opening your laptop next Monday morning, only to find that your competitor has completely stolen your digital authority, your 30-day plan has to start right now.
Clean your data.
Engineer your prompts with precision, govern your outputs, and tell a compelling story that only a human being can tell. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2026 landscape. We will see you next time.